if everybody is ready to get started, let's get started. Hi everybody, my name is Dan Whitaker and I teach here. I teach computer networking at the Catonsville campus, and in this session I'm going to be covering using virtualization to supplement classroom instruction. I will show how I use virtualization in my virtualization class, and then I will show how you might want to use how virtualization can be used in almost any class at this college. In this section I will cover the VMware certification program, an overview of virtualization, the components of a data center, creating a virtual data center. That's how I use virtualization in my own class. And then item number 5, we will look at using virtualization in other courses, in almost any course at CCBC, using what they call the VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. Since we are timed here, I have to have everybody out by 10 of. I request that you hold any questions that you have until the end. Here we go. CCBC has many different certifications. The A+ certification, which is the PC repair certification. The Microsoft certification, the Cisco router certification, the Linux certification, the Network Plus Network Engineer certification, and the newest certification that we have added is the VMware certification. And that is what I teach here. The VMware certification, the purpose is to enable the students to install, manage, and maintain virtual machines, whatever they are, and ESXi hosts in a data center. That is the purpose of the VMware certification. So now let's discuss what is virtualization and what is a data center. First, let's start out with a data center. A data center is also known a data center is also known as a server room, and it contains servers. You might have a DNS server and a DHCP server. You might have a registration server and a file server, DHCP server, and a DNS server. And when we first set up our data center here at CCBC, we got 4 different boxes, 4 different servers, 4 different boxes, and we made one a registration server, one a file server, one a DHCP server, and one a DNS server. But when we got them up and running, we found that the first 2 servers were only running at 25% of capacity, which is a waste of college money. And that the other 2 servers were maxed out at 100%. So it's not that we don't have enough CPUs, it's that we have some servers which aren't using all of their CPUs and other servers which need more CPUs. I wish I could just take my fingernails and pull the CPUs out of one machine and move them into another, but it's just not that easy. With virtualization, what we do is we install multiple server operating systems on one big computer, and that computer is called an ESXi host. An ESXi host is as big as you or I. Each operating system is called a virtual machine, and each is allocated a different amount of RAM and a different amount of CPUs. Whereas the smaller servers, the DHCP and the DNS servers, might be allocated only 1 CPU each. The application server, the student registration server, and the file server might be allocated 8 CPUs each. An ESXi host is a big computer as tall as I am, and it has 32 blades in it, and this thing that looks like a lunch tray is called a blade. And a blade is a circuit board that has 2 microprocessors and 4 gig of RAM. So if you have a server which has 32 blades in it, you got a server with 128 gig of RAM and 256 logical CPUs, a very powerful server. So an ESXi Host is a big computer that runs multiple operating systems, and each operating system is called a virtual machine. We've got the file server, application server, DNS server, and DHCP server all running on this great big machine. And whereas the DHCP server and the DNS server are only allocated 1 or 2 CPUs, the application server, student registration server, the file server, the heavily used servers are allocated 8 or 12 CPUs each. The next thing is, what is a data center? Well, a data center is full of ESXi hosts. If you look at a typical network, the users stand at the workstations, which are connected to a switch. That switch is connected to another switch in the data center, which is also known as the server room. In the data center, you have multiple ESXi hosts, and they are all connected to a big disk array, and that connection is called a SAN, a storage area network. A data center is composed of ESXi hosts, which run virtual machines, a disk array where data is stored, and 2 separate networks. The production network, which connects the users to the ESXi host, and the storage area network, which connects the ESXi host to the disk array, all within the server room. So, the purpose of the VMware certification is to enable the students to make all of this stuff work. The students should be able to install, manage, and maintain virtual machines, ESXi hosts, and storage area networks in a data center. So what we do is we have the students set up a small data center, and they install hosts, install virtual machines, install the disk array, connect the virtual machines to the disk array, and create the production network and the storage area network. Each student can work on a mini data center, and that data center includes ESXi hosts, which run virtual machines, a disk array, which stores the data, and both production and storage network, which connects the users to the hosts and connects the hosts to the disk array. The way the students learn how practice for the certification that teaches them to run a real data center, they practice on a mini data center where they have multiple ESXi hosts at a storage area network. The only problem with having a data center for each student is the cost. A data center can cost from $2,000 to $10,000, from $2,000 to $20,000 per miniature data center. That's the statement of the problem. The solution is to create a virtual data center, to use VMware Workstation to create nested virtualization. VMware Workstation is a piece of software which you run on your own computer, and it allows you to install multiple operating systems on your own computer. VMware Workstation allows you or me, or allows the students, to run multiple ESXi hosts on our own individual computer, and then to create multiple virtual machines on each host. In VMware Workstation, instead of the user In VMware Workstation implements nested virtualization. And the user can install two separate ESXi hosts all within his own computer, and then can install virtual machines within those ESXi hosts. This is called nested virtualization. And this allows users to install multiple ESXi hosts and multiple virtual machines all in one computer. And the reason we do this is it's a heck of a lot cheaper. Instead of having a data center for each individual student, the entire data center can be created inside a single computer using VMware Workstation. And this is how I am able to teach my students to manage to set up an entire data center all within their own individual computer. It's using virtualization to teach a virtualization class. In summary, using virtualization in my virtualization class, the purpose of the VMware cert is to enable the student to manage data center. The problem is having a data center for each student to practice on, and the solution is to use VMware Workstation, which allows us to run multiple ESXi hosts on a single computer. Now, let's talk about using virtualization courses, using virtualization in other courses at CCBC, and this is called VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure.